by Mate Moretto on Van Hecke and says that Tottenham and Van Hecke have now reached an agreement on personal terms. The deal is now awaiting clubs to finalise negotiations. I mean, I felt like I've heard that report so many times since we've ever been linked with Van Hecke. I never thought personal terms was ever going to be a stumbling block, as he's dying to play for Zerbi and play for Tottenham. But come on, just agree these terms already. We need to get these deals, start getting these deals over the line. The transfer window opened a whole day ago.
Yeah, I think Tottenham fans are already starting to get itchy feet. But yeah, I think we've heard. I think that personal terms isn't a problem. So this is not a surprise, is it, that Van Hecke's agreed personal terms? We know he only wants Tottenham. I think that isn't an issue. It's just about getting that fee with Brighton, and obviously Brighton are going for Vuskovic as well. That's gone quiet a bit over the last couple of days. So I think there's still a few kind of moving parts to this deal. He wanted it done before the World Cup. It might have to be after the World Cup now. Having said that, there have been some deals like Cucurella signed for Madrid during the World Cup. Like, things do happen.
I think Sabari as well got the here we go yesterday or 2 days ago.
Who?
Sabari, the Moroccan player from to Bayern Munich.
Yeah, so just because during the World Cup shouldn't completely rule it out. But I think if I'm Van Hecke, I understand if you do take that position. I just want to block it all out because World Cup is an unbelievable achievement for players, and they don't want to be distracted by anything. So we'll see if he's willing to agree a deal or willing to do the deal while the World Cup is on. Doesn't make a difference too much. I do think this will happen, but obviously Brighton are playing hardball, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Brighton to play hardball, is it? They are very good at their negotiations and at their transfer business. I wonder how it is all going to play out, because it seemed as though that Spurs were very close to the figure that Brighton wanted not so long ago, and just nothing has seemed to have progressed in the negotiations between Brighton and Tottenham. And if there is agreement on personal terms, then Van Hecke doesn't actually have to do anything or get distracted from the World Cup. It's all about the two clubs negotiating a fee. So I don't think it even matters that Van Hecke is at the World Cup and if he doesn't want to sign during the World Cup, because it's all about the two clubs negotiating. So I thought we would have heard something a bit more concrete on the clubs negotiating and coming to an agreement. That hasn't happened. I guess it's probably just the negotiations for Vuskovic and Spurs playing hardball over Vuskovic that is actually holding this deal up. They offered 30 million, 35 million euros, whatever it may be. Spurs want 60 million. And I doubt Brighton will go up to that figure.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either. So maybe they're trying to figure out if there is a deal that works for everyone, which I think there could be if Brighton are open to it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it'll be in their favour to loan him for a year or two. Maybe in the short term, but not in the long term. But look, we'll have to wait and see again.
Oh, you get a good centre-back on loan.
Yeah, it's good for them in the short term, but then ultimately they've been building up a player, and for Spurs to get a high sell-on fee, or Spurs to get a ready-made player back in their team, and it's just not their model.
Maybe he plays in Europe and they win a trophy or something. You never know.
Yeah, true. But I mean, they can probably win that tournament next year with or without Vuskovic.
Maybe.
Next up, Spurs again have been linked with Bahoya of Eintracht Frankfurt, and I think it's Jay Harris of The Athletic saying that Spurs are interested in Jean-Matteo Bahoya alongside Savinho, and Spurs have been in contact with the players' representatives but have not made a formal approach as of yet. And it feels like in the background at Spurs are just like running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. They're talking to Tonali, they're talking to Van Hecke, they're talking to Savinho, they're talking to Bahoya. I mean, who's talking to all these players? Like, they must have so many people working on these deals.
I mean, it's a far cry from, Tottenham are doing this deal, prioritising this deal before they move on to the next one. I've always said, why can't you work on multiple deals at the same time? And this is what they seem to be doing, which is great. When it comes to Bahoya, obviously talented winger for Frankfurt. I've always said, though, for me, I don't know about getting him and Savinho. It should kind of be one or the other. That's what I feel. And then maybe go for someone a bit more established. But they seem to really rate this kid. So maybe it is the case that he could surprise a few people.
Yeah, maybe. Like I said, the only real time I've seriously watched him is against Tottenham, and he did look pretty good in that game and gave our defence a lot of problems on the day. So it's just about the scouting and think if he's good enough. But I agree. I've said it many a time. If we are bringing in Savinho, let's bring in a more established player alongside him. And I don't think Bahoya represents that. A player that we were linked with in terms of Malik Fofana yesterday is probably more of the same, Another young kid coming through with a big potential. But last year he was massively hampered with injuries, and because of that injury, didn't make it into the Belgian team for the World Cup. So I guess they fall into the same camp, don't they?
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, you go for someone like Savinho, then you also go someone like an Ndai or something like that, who's been playing at the top level, Premier League, and doing quite well. So I think that would be the perfect kind of thing to do. But I don't know. Maybe they just feel like we just need a complete regeneration of the attack, and with players we we think could do really well. Maybe it's a case that they think that Bahoya, the scouting thinks he's underrated, and he actually is a lot better than people give him credit for. Who knows?
And last but not least, you talk about regeneration of attacks. There has been some information regarding Mathys Tel from Alistair Gold. And he says that before Tel departed on the summer holidays, he had a conversation with Zerbi about his future. And Zerbi made it clear that he would be counting on him next season. And he had no intention of allowing him to leave the club, which is interesting because it looks as though Spurs are going for two left wingers with Tel at the club as well. So it'll be interesting to see where they decide to fit him in and where the future lies for Tel.
Yeah, obviously he's a player who can play off the left and potentially up top as well. So
looks decent on the right.
To play, he was okay off the right as well. I don't really see him as a long-term right winger, but yeah, I think he was all right under Zerbi in the last 7 games. I actually think he had a decent season overall last season. Tel, I think a lot of people give him a lot of shit. I think a lot of it's to do with how Spurs were as a club overall more than him. I think Tel improved, was a lot more effective last season than he was the season before. Obviously, still got a lot of improving to do. Don't get me wrong, he's nowhere near the finished article, and there's a lot of things he needs to improve on. But I really like his mentality, I really like his attitude, and I think there's clearly quality there, which we did see on occasion last season. Especially late in the season, he was becoming more and more of a threat, and obviously scored that brilliant goal against Leeds. That shows what quality there is in there. So I think he's going to grow under Zerbi. I really believe that. I think under Zerbi, he can hopefully start to fulfill his potential. I still think he's got a long way to go. Don't get me wrong, but I think as well it hasn't helped. Being here under certain managers and the mess that we've been in hasn't helped him develop. Maybe is at the rate that we thought he would when we first signed him, but. Like I just think a lot of people give him a lot of shit and think he's rubbish and this and that. And he's again one of the poster boys, isn't he, for like our lack of ambition and our lack of ability to attract the best talent. Oh, Tel another unproven player and another one of these attackers who is just another Ng, another Nkudu. They put him in the same camp. I think he's better than that. I really do. I think he's a top talent, and I think he's going to grow under De Zerbi.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if Spurs are going to bring in two left wingers and potentially a striker if Richarlison leaves, then how much minutes is Tel actually going to get next season?
We have to fight for them, won't he? Like, if we get Bahoya in, who's to say that Bahoya gets ahead of him? Who knows?
What's the point of the signing then if we're going to put trust in Tel?
Well, we need also cover for the right wing, don't we?
Yeah.
So maybe we see Bahoya then more playing on the right. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, obviously we don't know who actually we're going to bring in. You would think. Maybe Savinho is more going to play on the right. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's going to him and Kudus rotate, and Bahoya and Tel off the left. Maybe that's the case. It's difficult to say exactly what their plans are, but I think Tel should be part of our plans.
I mean, if that is the plan, Bahoya and Tel on the left, I don't think that represents a good enough left side, to be honest. And I think yeah, definitely need someone more established. Because if you're going to bring Bahoya in to fight with Tel, I don't even think there's much difference between the two, you know. So you may as well bring in a more established one, and that starts to make a bit more sense if you want to do it like that. Because then you've got two decent players on every side of the pitch. Where if it's Bahoya and Tel, it's just two potentials on that side, isn't it?
Yeah, depends how highly they rate these kids, and Bahoya and Tel. But do they think that maybe next season they can be at a different level than they were before? Maybe under Zerbi they can find more out of themselves. Yeah, it's tough to say. I think in a perfect world, of course, do I want Ndai? Do I want a different, a higher level right now? Obviously, that's I think that's what I want. Um, but yeah, I think having two very talented wingers fighting out for a position, bettering themselves to try and get in a team could also work.
Yeah, and you've also got Odebear to come in when he comes back as well. That
Yeah.
makes like three all in like the same boat, which you know. Look, I do like Tel. I do like Tel, but I just think he's still very raw and still has a lot of developing to do. Maybe the best point of call is to bring in, a standout left winger and send Tel out on loan if you're going to do something like that to get Tel regular minutes. Because I don't know, does it do one? I don't think it does wonders for his development if he's just going to be sitting on the bench next season.
Well, who knows? Maybe we won't sign Bahoya.
Yeah. But it looks as though, if you believe the rumours in the press, we are looking for two left-sided players.
Yeah. Well, depending on where we see Savinho.
Yeah. But you'd assume it's off the left if we got Kudus. But look, who knows at the end of the day.
We need a right. Well, we need also, but I mean, we can't just have Kudus by himself, can we?
Yeah. It depends.
So
it depends how close to Kulusevski is to coming back, and if he's going to play part next season. Because if he plays next season, then that's the right hand side sorted.
Yeah, it's tough to we don't really know what's going on with Decky, do we? Well, how ready he's going to be.
Yeah.
I just think Tel's got so much talent, and I think he's got a very good shot on him. I think he could score goals for us. Yes, he needs more developing, but he's just been through development, in these last 18 months. That's going to help him. And I think next season we're going to see a better Tel. I'm confident of that.
Hope you're right. But yeah, that is your
Tottenham. Players develop, players get better. Happens all the time.
It does happen all the time, but it doesn't always happen to every player. So we'll have to wait and see how it progresses. I don't think it's a certainty, but it's definitely a possibility.
The kid is what, 21, 22?
21, yeah.
21. And he's been getting better. I think he has been getting better.
He has got better.
So I think he'll continue.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I mean, I can't conclusively say that's going to happen, but I hope it happens. And if he carries on this path, then he will get better. But we have to see it in front of our very eyes, don't we? All right. Well, that is your Tottenham update. I think it's actually very interesting when we go back to the Tonali